Welcome, everyone, to the show that will change podcasting, the world, life as you know it. The tale of two young college students as they surf from couch to couch, all the way from New York into Atlanta, with no place to honestly really call home other than a TV, a couch, a remote, and their phones. This is the Couch Surfers Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jalen. I grew up in Staten Island, and I so desperately want to be validated, so I say that I went to high school in Manhattan. And this is your other host.
Yo, this is Henry McCants. Also from New York, from the 6th borough, Westchester County. And I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that.
Let's just get into the episode. Thank you for listening and joining us on this journey. I promise it won't be a waste of your time.
All right, so this week we watched one of the greatest movies, I think, made in the early 2000s. Damn near of all time. You know, I had a ball watching The State Property, released in January of 2002, directed by Abdul Malik Abbott, produced by Dame Dash for a budget of $600,000. Screenplay by Ernest Anderson.
Nothing but Rocawear.
Nothing but Rocawear. Stars the legendary Beanie Siegel, Damon Dash, Cindy Carter, Amelia Sparks, Jay-Z, Young Chris, Memphis Bleak, Neef Buck, just a slew of 2000s artists and music video stars, and they really come and perform amazingly in this movie. Jalen, do you have anything to say before we get started?
All I want to say is, you know, we can't forget about the Robin to Jay-Z's Batman, Ty the King, who shows up at towards the beginning.
Well, here let's give them a little synopsis. So, okay, this movie, the synopsis is: frustrated with being broke, Beans, played by Beanie Siegel, decides that the only way to grasp the American dream is to take it. State Property follows Beans and his crew, the ABM, as they take over the city, creating mayhem as their empire builds. Beans now struggles to maintain his family life while bumping heads with opposing gangsters and the police. It all comes to a head when he cannot surpass the city's most notorious crew, run by Untouchable Jay and Dame, played by Jay-Z and Damon Dash.
Respectively.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Damon Dash and Jay-Z are the breakout characters in this movie. For me,
I have to disagree. Listen, you know, Jay-Z put on a performance that has outdone anything that Beyonce did, especially in Obsessed. I despise that movie, even though Jay-Z had 3 appearances,
I'll take,
and 2 lines over the course of all 3. One of them, he speaks some forbidden language that translates to, "Hey, yo, go shoot up the courthouse."
Yeah, and even before you get to the courthouse scene, the story kind of just, it does not escalate very well. Within the first 11 minutes, you have 2 time cards passing a year and a couple weeks, and he goes from being broke to being the number 1 drug dealer in that span of time. So you watch the first 11 minutes and you feel like you should be halfway done. And you're not even a fourth of the way done. You're not even the eighth of the way done.
Nah, you got an hour and 14 minutes left, big dog. But the thing for me was how he. All right, so the movie opens in a strip club, right? Is Beanie Siegel and Memphis Bleak. You know, they're just chilling, whatever. And out of nowhere, Beanie Siegel just randomly goes, "Yo, let's go get some money," and then And then immediately afterward, because they're set up to be broke, like, there's no Rocawear.
Mm-hmm. No Rocawear means you have
no
money
Rocawear, no 18 karat.
If you don't have those, if you don't have Rocawear jean shorts that look like baggy capris on, you are just broke.
You're not real.
You're not real in these streets.
Simply, you're just not real. So they go from the strip club to being like outside of like a barbershop or like a bodega or something, and immediately Beanie Siegel pulls up with a bat, like Henry said, like he's coming straight out of Top Boy, and he's like, it's these three dudes. It's basically like more or less the Kingpin, and then like two of his dudes. Beanie Siegel points a bat at them, and it's like, yo, y'all stay here. And then Memphis Bleak drags the Kingpin into the alley right next to the barbershop. And like nobody does anything because Beanie Siegel points the bat at them and then walks away. So they're completely free to, I don't know, take out their guns and shoot them or something. But no, instead, Beanie Siegel just wails on the Kingpin's head and they toss him in a trash can. And then on the next cut, Beanie Siegel's Don Corleone. And that's it.
Hey, and Jalen, you can't forget, you're either going to get down or you're going to lay down.
Because
that was apparently the motto of the movie.
I don't even know if it was a motto or if it was like them trying to brainwash me into laying down or just throwing everything away and living a life of crime.
Listen, I was sold on the movie. Regardless, sarcasm aside, I watched it twice back to back. Like
I almost did the same.
I honestly, even though it wasn't received critically well, apparently it did really well or decently well for its budget in the box office. It garnered a sequel that I'm definitely looking forward to watching. And honestly, despite its shortcomings, I think they succeeded at making an entertaining movie. If it really fits in the whole crime drama category, that's where it differs. For me, it works better as an unintentional comedy. But overall, I give this movie a solid 3.5 of Beanie Siegel's bats out of 5.
Okay, no, I was gonna go out of 10. Like that's actually kind of close to what I was gonna do. But no, I feel like this is a movie that I'd sit down and watch like on Lifetime or TLC or TNT with like my mom or my dad, and they just like break down like how cool Rocawear and like Fat Farm were at the time. Because trust, when I was like 6 years old, my entire closet was definitely Rocawear and Baby Fat.
Don't forget that Sean John. Don't forget that Sean John.
The Sean John polo, a staple.
Ooh, Sean John white tee stayed on a boy.
Talk to him. Me. No, I give it I gave the movie like a 5 or 6 out of 10. It was definitely better than Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Ooh, Jalen back with the hot take. Come on now, brother. It's too early in the morning for this. It's too early in the morning for this.
I'm sorry. I come to speak the truth.
Nothing but it. So, Jalen, you want to move on to the next segment?
Cool. All right. So this next segment is pretty much just going to be me, breaking down what anime you should or shouldn't invest in. And right now, of course, the hot commodity is going to be Attack on Titan.
Talk to me.
Yeah, the anime, like this latest season was absolutely crazy. They took a mid-season break like about a couple weeks ago, I think. But as you know, or as you may or may not have noticed, every Sunday, Twitter would just be kind of popping off with Attack on Titan spoilers, like immediately. And the worst part is it was barely the people spoiling it. It was Twitter putting in descriptions of the literal episode and the twist every week, like as a part of the hashtag. So if you weren't an ascended being like me and read the manga, you just kind of got spoiled by Twitter.
So if I'm a fan, because for anybody who doesn't know, I'm just now really getting into anime. I've been a fan of course, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto's, My Hero Academia's, the big ones. And I know Attack on Titan's a big one, but Jalen here is going to find a way to make me a bigger fan. And so if I haven't read the manga, you said Twitter's out there just spoiling for me, huh?
Pretty much. But you know, like the anime is gonna be coming back like towards the tail end of this year, or maybe like early next year, to finish out, because like the last chapter came out literally on Friday, like 2 days ago.
Okay.
So like I would recommend investing heavy right now, because when it comes back, like everything that happened earlier on in season 4, like it was already crazy, and it had all this conversation going on about, you know, the classic, you know, eugenics, eugenics, genocide, you know, some like racism, classism. But no, this second half is gonna be a lot crazier, even if you've already seen season 4. And you thought that was the craziest thing ever. No, it's so much more about to go down.
See, you make mention to season 4. Can you, if for someone who hasn't seen the show, is not familiar with the general plot or characters, can you be a little more specific? Can you give us some feedback or fill us in on?
I got you. So the basic premise is, all right, so humanity's kind of caught up, like they live between these walls, and they're all that's left because they hide behind the walls in order to keep these titans out. Titans are basically giant babies, more or less, like that are cannibals. They're not literally giant babies, but they act like giant. They act like giant babies because they just kind of run around and just like eat and maim people for seemingly no reason. But for as long as humanity can remember, they've always been behind the walls. No one's allowed to go beyond the walls. But there's kind of like this military state going on where you have like the military police, the garrison that checks on the walls. And then you have the scouts who actually go beyond the walls and do expeditions and stuff to see if humanity, you know, can retake the land outside the walls, which is a kind of an impossible mission. But it follows the story of Eren, Mikasa, and Armin after tragedy strikes in episode 1. And I'm going to leave it there. But yeah.
See, I don't know why immediately when you told me that people lived inside the walls and big babies are attacking them, I just imagined a whole bunch of toys and a baby just looking into his playpen and just reaching his hand in every once in a while and just messing things up.
You would be surprised as to how accurate that is for like a description of what happens in the first episode.
And now I kind of want to watch the first episode. So Jalen, if you could give a specific, stock going up, how's it looking?
Listen, invest heavily. You know, this is going to be a low period. You know, the stock's going to die down a little bit because there's going to be like, you know, some discussion on Twitter of, oh, was this right? Was that right? You're going to want to avoid that. But I'm telling you, as soon as season 4 picks up or there's a release date or a trailer for the next half of season 4, you want to be in there. So you need to grind out those first 3.5 seasons now.
Sounds good. Will do. Attack on Titan. All right, Jalen. Next up, we're going to do a segment we call New Wave, where every week Jalen gives me a randomly assigned musical genre. And I pick an artist and I listen to a project of theirs and I tell y'all if it's a new wave or not. And this week, Jalen, you want to tell them what genre you gave me?
All right. So I gave him Russian punk.
Yes. And I found a musical group called Pussy Riot. And now at first I heard the name and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect. I'm really big on hip hop and R&B. I'm a producer myself, but I really don't branch out into, you know, that much. I am a fan of classical rock, but I've never really entered the whole punk space. I've definitely never entered the Russian musical space. But Pussy Riot is a Russian feminist protest, punk rock, and performance art group based in Moscow. Founded in August 2011, it has had a variable membership of approximately 11 women, ranging in age from about 20 to 33.
Wait, now, Jalen,
yeah, 20 to 33. And I'm going to be honest with you, Jalen. I was hesitant at first. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. But I'm really glad I listened because I'm going to be honest. I think Pussy Riot is the new wave. I really think, I mean, not new because it came in 2011, but I definitely think it's the wave.
I like that.
I found their project, it's a 3-song kind of project called XXX, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I really, really enjoyed this. The tracks are "Make America Great Again," "Straight Out of Vagina," featuring Decimo, and excuse me if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name, Lakey Live 47, and Organs was the third song. And I really, really enjoyed these. "Make America Great Again" was obviously, this project being released in 2016. It was very, relevant with the whole election of Donald Trump. And the melody is smooth. The music is great. I was surprised it was in English. I was expecting it to be in Russian, but again, I'm not familiar with how they, how the music scene is out there. But the song, man, I really liked the points they were making, and even in "Straight Out of Vagina," it's bringing. No, I'm being serious.
No, I love that name so much. I'm sorry.
No, it's and it talks about how when people say where they're from, they should really be saying I'm from vagina, and it's bringing awareness to issues that women are dealing with. And I know I am in support of the feminist movement. I'm an ally, and I think the message of just peace and freedom and love is really, really pushed through these women. And I really like how they did it in a fun way. The music is fun. And usually it's hard to find that balance, I find, with music that has a deep meaning. A lot of people feel like you have to sacrifice that fun and energetic vibe when you have a message. And Pussy Riot is just an example of how you can mix both in there. So I definitely think it's a new wave, and I'm definitely a fan.
Nah, I'm so happy to hear that, because my entire reasoning behind picking Russian punk was last year when the pandemic first hit and we were at home, I was just hitting up random people just for whatever.
Everyone does.
Yeah, I was talking to this girl from that I did theater with in high school, and she was like, yeah, I've been floating around different genres. And she was like, yeah, punk leads to post-punk, and then post-punk. And then she talked about Russian punk. And she's onto much crazier, greener, pink and yellow pastures now. But yeah, Russian punk was the one that really jumped out at me. And I just wanted to send that your way. But
and I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm so happy that actually kind of worked out. I was surprised to hear that they actually sang in English.
Yeah, no, I mean, and definitely some of it was in Russian, I believe. Some of the vocals were distorted, and I really couldn't hear what they were saying at certain points. But I was surprised too, and I was happy because I'm gonna be honest, I appreciate music, of course, in all languages. I love it, but I prefer to understand, what they're saying, especially with a group like this that has such a strong meaning behind their music. So I'm definitely happy they had it in English. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I listened to it right before I watched State Property, and I don't think Pussy Riot would appreciate this movie as much as we do, because Jalen, I don't know if you remember, but I don't think you see a woman with her shirt on for the first 15 minutes, and there's a lot of women with no shirts on.
Oh, I remember.
And then that scene, the first thing that I said to this woman is, and excuse me if I'm misquoting, "Damn, you have a fat blank."
you have a rotund posterior. No, it's bad because they open up in a strip club and it's completely uncensored. No one has a top on at all. The only female characters that have tops on are Beans's baby mama and all of her friends. Mm-hmm. Any woman outside of that is not wearing a top.
And it's sad that anytime a woman does have a top on, she's either being degraded or being shot at, because at the end at the end, I really think this movie is a pseudo feminist movie. It has an agenda because in the beginning, all the women are disrespected and degraded, but at the end, his lawyer is a woman. And then I was like, okay, well, at least we're starting to, at least try and approach the line of decency. And then she keeps getting cut off by the male lawyer who wants to help cut a deal. I'm just like, oh, we were so close.
Yo.
And then we're in the courtroom, and then there's a news anchor, and I'm like, okay. And then she gets disrespected and pushed away by Beans, and I'm like, oh, we were so close. And then we're in the courtroom, and I'm excited to come. All right, we get to the female lawyer in action, the woman lawyer in action, and then the courtroom gets shot up, and I'm like, can we get a break? And then finally, Beans is killed, or so we think, and he's shot by a woman for Jay-Z, and then it broke my heart because it's just I love this movie so much, but it would fail like every Bechdel test, every social decency
test.
It would fail. It's just like the definition of like misogyny in a movie, and Pussy Riot would not be a fan, and I want to hear their commentary on it. I want them and woke Jay-Z now to talk about this movie, and I want to be there. I want to let's get them on the podcast so we can have this discussion and we can work together on State Property 3.
Man, I hope so. I mean, honestly, I don't think they're going to be the ones working on State Property 3. If anything, one Mr. Future Hendrix is going to be the executive producer of State Property 3 alongside Dame Dash, and it's gonna be the misogynistic thriller of the 21st century and beyond.
Hey man, but it's a conversation that we need to have. Definitely.
Man, I swear. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if if Future watched State Property when he was like I don't even know how old he would have been, maybe like 15 or something. Like when it first came out, and that was the moment when he put the hat and the sunglasses on.
I mean, honestly, it said State Property did very well, so I wouldn't put it past that. The one and only Future Hendrix has seen the movie. I wouldn't pass on that.
Nah, but I mean, shout out to my man's Vladimir Putin out there in Moscow, really putting on for the culture. I like that.
I respect it. Love it. So final report, I definitely think Pussy Riot is the new wave, and I want to hear a Untouchable J diss from them. I think Pussy Riot is a band everyone needs to listen to for social reasons. It's very relevant today,
yes,
as it was in 2016 when the project came out. And I believe they have new singles out. Everyone, please listen to Pussy Riot, and everyone, please watch State Property if you want to understand the context of their music in society, because they work hand in hand. They're literally the opposite sides of the coin. And honestly, I recommend them both for those exact reasons.
All right, so next up we got Trash or Treasure, which is a segment where Henry's going to be feeding me 5 out of, the 10 million games I play every week. And I'm going to be rating them from either trash or treasure with a couple little nuances in between. So get ready to have your hearts broken if you understand anything about any of these games. I'm sorry.
All right. First up, we have Hades.
Treasure. Honestly, I underrated that game heavily. It wasn't until somebody came up into my room. It was my friend from the second floor. I'm on the third floor. He came up and just played Hades on the Switch in front of me. And I was like, wow, I really slept on this game. So even though it won Game of the Year last year and all these different awards, for me, it was definitely a hidden treasure. It was something I immediately walked past.
Now, can you? What kind of game is this? Like a fighting game, RPG?
Okay, so Hades is kind of a bit of a dungeon crawler type of game where it's shot from the top down, and you're just kind of getting hordes of enemies thrown at you nonstop, and you're trying to leave Hades because you're Hades' son. Sorry, you're Hades' son, and you're trying to escape the underworld because you're like half kind of underworld demon spawn, half Olympian, and so like the gods are kind of coming down and like sending you stuff.
So you're Percy Jackson.
Get out. You're basically Percy Jackson, the king.
I'm on board.
But like, yeah, you get like a bunch of different weapons. You kill a bunch of monsters. It's really hard, but it's a lot of fun.
All right. Next up, Tekken 7.
Okay, so Tekken 7, I'm gonna give it a treasure, but it's the type of treasure that you're gonna need you're gonna need like a 300,000 pound crane to get out of the ocean because this game is hard. If you don't already know, Tekken 7 is a fighting game. It's the 7th installment of the Tekken series. It's set in like a 3D plane, so you can move forwards, backwards, left and right, more or less. And just figuring out how to move is probably the hardest part of the battle, much less the combos, because there's like 300 million different moves you can do. Because in like a normal fighting game, it's like, oh, you got your punch, your kick, your medium kick, your heavy kick, heavy punch, medium punch, whatever. But in Tekken, like the 4 buttons on your controller are your left hand, your right hand, your left leg, and your right leg. And if you move your stick in like any of like I think it's 8 or any of like the 9 directions it could be in, including kind of just like sitting still, you get a different move.
What?
Yes. So like a regular like left-handed punch, like a left-handed jab, just sitting there neutrally is one thing, but you move the stick forward while you press that button and it's a completely different move. And certain moves can't combo into each other. And on top of that, you also have moves that come into play as you're rising, like moving from a crouch to like standing perfectly up, like upright. And it's just so much to try and get, but I'm really trying my best. But I really think because of how complicated it is and all the different guest characters they have, which includes Negan from The Walking Dead, it's a great game.
See, I'm still trying to fathom how, because I understand there's 2 joysticks, so that means there's 18 just with the joysticks, no buttons. There's 18 potential combinations.
No, you don't use the right stick. You choose the left stick.
Okay, but still 9.
Yes,
that is like hypersensitivity. Like,
yes.
So this is not a game for beginners.
Not necessarily, but if you put the work in, it'll be fine. Because I mean, even if you go in just kind of like trying to feel your way out, you'll eventually figure it out. It's kind of a take what you need type of game. Like they give you 300,000 options, but you just take what you need. It's super daunting at first. You don't need to know literally everything.
All right. Next up, we have Psychonauts. Got a reaction to that one.
A classic. I like just beat Psychonauts. Well, first of all, like this is ancient hidden treasure. It released on the original Xbox, like near the turn of the century, and it's just excellent. It's probably one of the best like platformers that I've ever played. You play as Raz, who is a circus kid who escapes from his family circus to become a psychonaut, which is basically like a super spy that has telekinesis. And you like go into people's brains and like solve like their mental issues. It's like there's a part of the game where you're in a mental asylum and you're actually helping people like with real life mental issues, like work through like their trauma and like nursing them back to health and stuff. It's really cool. The story's really good and goofy. The main character, Raz, is voiced by the guy that does Invader Zim.
Ooh, blast from the past.
Exactly.
So, treasure for you? Hidden treasure?
Absolutely.
All
ancient treasure.
Ancient
Even though it's not that ancient. It's like maybe like 20 years old.
Now you want to talk about ancient. Next up, we have Tony Hawk Pro Skater both 1 and 2.
So this remaster or remake, I guess, came out last year, and it is so much fun. I literally, like, every time I have a class, like right beforehand, I just play it because you get like a 2-minute session in, you finish whatever goal you were trying to do. It's just fun. There's so many games where they're focused on, let's do a big convoluted story, or hey, let's get these mechanics in and make things competitive. But this game is just fun, and you really can't ask for anything else. So yeah, treasure, free.
See, the only Tony Hawk game I played is the Tony Hawk Skate for Wii, where you actually had the skateboard.
Oh no, not Tony Hawk Ride.
Tony Hawk Ride. And I'm be honest with you, I was a bad boy on that game. I was dangerous on that game. I'm not a gamer. I would never say I'm a serious gamer, but I bust you up on some Tony Hawk Ride for Wii. I demolish you.
Oh no, definitely, because I had it for the Xbox, and
no.
I was both dangerous and a bad boy, but in the most literal sense of both of those terms. I was like hitting stuff when I was trying to do tricks. It wasn't it. I was making a lot of noise upstairs, and yeah, it like literally like within like the week that I got it, like I got in so much trouble, and it just wasn't worth it anymore after that.
See, my living room is right above my mother's bedroom. And I remember one time I was really into, we have carpet, and you know, they give you those grips.
They give you the carpet grip. Yeah.
Carpet grip. So that for this exact reason. So I was on, no grip, cause I'm a rebel. I'm playing Tony Hawk. It's like 11:15. I'm past my bedtime. I'm playing Tony Hawk. I'm rebellious, right? I'm playing, and it's ironic. I was snowboarding actually, and I legit wiped out like off the board. I guess I leaned too far back.
Please don't tell me that the board flew into the TV. I'm begging you, please don't tell me.
The board didn't fly into the TV, but I landed so hard that my mother instantly woke up. Damn. And when I tell you, the anger in that home that day because of Tony Hawk, I still don't regret it though. I still don't regret it to this day. That was a good wipeout. I got right back up on that board, turned the volume down on the TV.
And then you kept it moving.
I kept it moving. I never did it again. I put that little grip. I learned my place. I took the grip. All right, next up we have Call of Duty Warzone.
Trash.
Ooh,
garbage.
And that's a popular one today. That's a popular one. Everyone has Warzone.
Yes. First of all, we all know what Call of Duty is. It's a FPS, but this is a battle royale, kind of like Fortnite, where it's like it's like 150 people, I think, drop into this gigantic map. And you pretty much just fight to see who's the last one standing, or like the last team standing. Mm-hmm. And I despise Warzone because it's everything I don't like about the genre. The map is huge. Everyone just snipes you from buildings. And this is, you're just going to be like, oh, this is complaints from somebody who's bad at the game. But it's inherently just poor design, because you have like these super high areas, like, people camping in buildings, but immediately outside of them are these open areas. And the game is just, hey, let's just secure this building and sit here and then just like murder any poor soul who thinks he has a chance of surviving in these streets.
So it's just Hall of Campers.
It's literally every problem about Call of Duty just magnified. So it's Call of Campers. You have like the way that the guns feel, like they don't feel right. I don't know. And the sprinting lasts for like 0.3 seconds. And the health is super low. Even if you have shields, like literally whoever like takes the first shot just wins, more or less. Unless you have like a really bad gun, then that's just really it. Because it's not even like kind of a question of, oh, this player had more skill. Oh, this player could aim better than the other one. It's more of who has the better gun. And like, that's it.
So now I know in the other Call of Duties, like you had to prestige, you had to, level up to get the best guns. Same thing for Warzone?
I will say that's kind of one of the cooler things about Warzone. It actually is linked with Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, like in terms of progression. So like your levels from Modern Warfare are going to transfer over to Warzone, and whatever levels you get in Warzone are going to reflect back in Modern Warfare. So you're going to be like Prestige 10 or whatever in Warzone. You'll still be Prestige 10 in Modern Warfare. See, that's the one point I'll give it. I like the integration.
See, that's not news for me because I don't think I prestige. I'm still trying to prestige in Black Ops 2. I'm going to be honest with you. Still trying to prestige first time. So I don't know if that's helping me, but I'm glad to know you other gamers out there can get some of that support.
With us today on the Couch Servers podcast, we actually have an interview with the one and only Jason Spencer, you know, the man who's really on the ground, kind of putting the entire live show game on his back, and you don't even know his name. So, Jason, well, let the people know who you are. Please come get your cake and eat it too.
Thanks for the setup. Like you said, I've been in terms of entertainment. I've been in the entertainment industry for probably about 15 years now, but I took a little different route where my route brought me through casinos. So I ran entertainment for Caesars, which at the time when I was there was the largest casino company in the world. And, you know, I oversaw their Eastern division. So that consisted of probably about 10 or 15 casinos. But more importantly, in your case, would be about 5 large concert venues, probably about 15 mid-sized venues, and just several lounges and the largest nightclub in the Northeast. So I will put on about 200 shows a year, from anyone from Madonna to Jay-Z to, everyone else in between. You know, some from a $500 DJ in one of my lounges to Madonna, which was over 2 million. So ran about 200 concert acts and probably 3, 4, 5, 600 just other type of acts throughout the year. So that's where I cut my teeth in the live entertainment space. And prior to that, worked at Reebok in their lifestyle marketing division, where we launched the S Carter and G Unit line. So that's pretty much my background. Been doing that for about 15 years now.
What was kind of that responsibility like? Because I saw that you went from, immediately, within a year, I believe, of you being with Caesars, you immediately jumped to being the director of marketing.
You know, it's kind of surreal. At one point, I remember when maybe 2 or 3 years into the job, and I'm still relatively young at the time. I don't know, I was probably 28 or 29 or something like that. And I realized where the buck stopped at me, and I had this contract on my desk, and it was probably for maybe $500,000 or something like that. And I realized that no one else was looking over my shoulder to pass it to check off on it. So that did feel a little weird and intimidating the first time that kind of started to happen. And I reread the contract. Probably took me like a week to read this one contract because I was so scared that, no one I was the decision maker. So that took some getting used to. So it took me a week to read that first one to I probably spend 20 minutes max on a contract normally when I read through them real quickly to know what to look for. So, to answer your question, it was a little surreal once you kind of made it to a point where you were the decision maker. Prior to that, it's not that bad. You don't feel that intimidating because you're not the decision maker. You're just there to provide support and help and make things look good. But once you get decision making responsibilities and millions of dollars are you're responsible for. My budget was $45 million, I think, at Caesars. It can get intimidating, especially in the beginning.
Jason, I know you talked about being in these positions of power, making the decisions. Can you talk about what diversity looked like in the upper ranks of this industry? Were there a lot of Black faces?
The easiest part to look at diversity is employees, right? Like, so to Henry's question, were there other employees, Black executives, right? That's only one piece. That cascades down into so many other pieces, like vendors, for example, me bringing on those agencies. If there's not Black employees, there's probably not Black agencies, right? And then from an entertainment perspective, when I took over in Atlantic City, they didn't have any Black performers, like, for the most part. They had like the handful of, like, the Motown era of the, like, the Aretha Franklins or Patti LaBelle's of the world, like those super iconic acts. They did those. But out of the 200 acts I did a year, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 of them were Black at the most. And those were all those, like, that one space that everyone felt comfortable with, that Motown, like, iconic era. But with me being there, that grew because I was able to show them, like, hey, there's plenty other genres of music, that Black people are in, and they're successful music, and this can be success for the company. And they were welcoming. At the end of the day, it's a corporation, so they're looking at the bottom line. If I'm bringing in concerts that are selling out, they don't care if it's Black, green, yellow. They're with it. But if I'm not there to lead the charge, that never happens. So diversity cascades down, and I think that's missed a lot. And they just think it's at the employee level.
No, definitely. And we all appreciate, the music industry definitely appreciates you, and you made a lot of change. Do you see a change in music and entertainment from when you were at Morehouse till now, when you're out of the industry, sort of? And can you talk about how maybe you got to see that change as it was being facilitated because you were in these industries booking these acts and pushing these artists? Can you talk about how that change came and what you noticed that's different?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm trying to think about the change. I think the biggest change, I don't even think is the music, right? Like, yeah, music evolves, and there's little genres that pop up or whatever, different emphasis on lyrics or different parts of the country, especially when it comes into hip hop, what's more prominent. But to me, the music hasn't changed. It's more so the mediums in that the music is distributed through has changed. And obviously social media being the biggest steward of that, and then these digital sales, digital music, not having being able to just put music out, and the access to music, not only to receive music but to create and put your music out to the world. That's the biggest change in all this stuff. The music's the music, right? So the change is, I think people are more empowered now. I think that's why you see more artists. I think there's more artists today, and it might be more a lot more one-hit wonders, if you will. But I hate to say that word because it's looked at like derogatory, but it's more like, no, they're just these people who were able to get their music out there and something popped. But yesteryear, they probably wouldn't have never even got their music out. But because of the medium has changed and the power is more into the person as opposed to the label, that's the biggest change, I think, in the industry. As far as the music, the music is the music. It comes and goes, styles and things like that. But I think it's those other aspects that have drastically changed more.
Jason, thank you so much. I would be remiss, in the news today, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, we're talking about the music industry, one of the biggest icons in the rap hip hop industry, a hero to a lot of rappers, MCs, just hip hop enthusiasts, and just people in general. We lost DMX today, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up, and his legacy and his impact on the music industry today. Do you have any? I know you were in the industry booking acts around the same time he was gaining popularity. Do you have any DMX stories that you'd like to share that are meaningful to you, if you have ever booked them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've booked DMX before. We were talking about the live show. Probably no one does it better. No one has as much from an energy perspective when you just really need a microphone. No one wanted to ever follow X. I don't care if he was the biggest artist or not at the time. When it came to a live show, and a lot of rap acts, at least back then, the shows, it was a couple of them together. It was co-headline, and but no one wanted to follow X because he just he brought the house down, and he was amazing at his craft. And me being from Westchester, it hits home even more because back then X being from 914 in Westchester, like we weren't from the city, and everyone was from New York City, and all the rappers and stuff from New York City. But when X came out, we finally had him, right? Like no one was touching X, and that made everyone, obviously in Yonkers, but in a greater 914 Westchester area, made everyone feel a little prouder, because we had someone no one was touching. So again, thoughts and prayers to his family. He meant a lot to everyone, and it definitely will be missed.
Definitely, and me being from Westchester too, I feel that we had X, we had the Locks, we had Puffy, but X just meant a lot to the hip hop community, and truly rest in peace. Who are your top 5 acts that you've ever booked, and why? And who are your top 5 acts in general? And this could be music, any other form of entertainment. I know you book dance groups to magicians. You can go crazy. The sky's the limit. But what are your top 5 of all time that you booked, and top 5 of all time that you just enjoy from any generation? Because the theme of the podcast is generational change.
Top 5. Man, let me see. Let me think about that. Well, Puffy, I think was one, and it wasn't just because it wasn't just Puffy. Puff has a lot going on. So this was a whole Bad Boy weekend thing I did. It was huge. We were on the front page of the New York Post. Actually, the next day at our party, the casino got shut down because it was just overrun with people. In a good way, casinos never shut down, and we actually shut down the casino. So look that up. That was Harris Casino, probably like 10 years ago. We shut it down. So that whole Puffy, Rick Ross, it was a bunch of people we brought on stage. It was super dope. So that one's always close to me. I'm trying to think from. I would say like the divas, like the Motown divas, I would put them as one. They were close to me, like, Patti LaBelle, Aretha Franklin, like that whole crew. Diana Ross, like just because that's just iconic. Like I grew up, that was being played on Saturday mornings, and to like see these individuals in person in the show, like they really cared about their craft and the showmanship of it. So they were amazing. Like I said, DMX was incredible. I lean toward 914. So Mary J. Blige, she was great. Madonna, just because to this day, that's the biggest show I've ever booked. So I actually, she went on sale. I put her on sale. She did the Super Bowl halftime show, and then I went on sale with my concert the next day, and it blew out. So that was huge. And the list goes on. And then there's, some, the list goes on. So it's kind of hard to quantify it.
No, thank you, and definitely, and I personally am a huge Lil Wayne fan, so I was hoping you would throw, I was hoping you would throw a Wheezy shout out on there. I'm kind of
I got
heartbroken.
a story about Wayne, but that I actually have to go. That's another podcast story. I have a great story about Wayne. I think I've told you before. He actually saved my job.
Shoot!
When Nikki canceled on me, like, for the biggest event in my company's history, and yeah, we got Wayne to stand in, but it was a whole crazy story. But that's for next time. Tease the next episode. We'll figure that out.
Wow, what a goat!
Definitely.
Man, no, that interview was actually pretty fun. I mean, even though it was only our first episode, and we probably won't end up doing an interview every week, this one was fun. I think the main thing that kind of jumped out at me was his entire journey, especially when he was talking about dealing with these checks for like $500,000. Like, it was just mad casual.
And I think he talked about like a $2 million Madonna concert. He was like, "Oh, that was the biggest one." And then, we've had like Lil Wayne and Nicki Minaj in between. Like, he said it, like you said, so casually, and like it was an everyday occurrence. And I think that's the biggest part.
Exactly. He was just kind of like running it down, like, "Oh yeah, so like, yesterday I ran to the corner store, I picked up some Oreos, some, like, I made like $300 million for Caesars. I'm a billionaire now. I'm kidding. But no, I just think that his journey was kind of inspiring,
No, definitely. Like his journey from, I know he mentioned went to Morehouse, to NYU, to these different positions, and at such a young age, and at the time when the entertainment industry, or especially music and hip hop music and black music, was kind of starting to reach its stride and break into the mainstream fully. So for him to be kind of in the midst of that and be pushing these acts, that would not have been pushed otherwise. I know he mentioned that they had a pocket of black performers that they would get from like Motown and like that safe bet. And for him to, challenge that and to push back against the pushback that he was getting for that is very strong and very powerful. I'm very grateful for that. And like you said, this was just an amazing interview for just the first episode. So.
Not totally. And it honestly kind of goes to show like just how many hands are at work behind the stuff that we see on TV or here on the radio. Because like, you watch like a Big Time Rush or like a Jonas Brothers LA, or you watch like Camp Rock, and it's just something as simple as, "Oh, that one dude in the mall heard me singing and now I have an amazing record deal," and whatever. But no, there's like just so much more to that, because it's more than just, "Oh yeah, we're making good music." It's, "Oh no, like the right people above us care enough to push this forward." I just thought that was really tight.
Nah, for sure. And I know Jason talked a lot about how concerts and how the live performance aspect, because that's the area he works in, that's the specialty, what is like the mainstay in hip hop, and how that's the only thing that's really remained unchanged. And that goes hand in hand with what you're saying. Getting that audience connection, getting that live performance, getting that, interaction with the fans is crucial for an artist that wants to be popular. And that's crucial for artists to, be worth $2 million at a concert like Madonna. That kind of money doesn't just come out of nowhere. You have to earn that spot. Madonna definitely, through her outrageous performances and, her grand stages that she touches, she sets an example, and all the people he mentioned in the interview, like the late great DMX, Lil Wayne, all these great artists that he mentioned, they really have a connection with their artists, and their music is amazing as well. So,
yeah, like that connection is everything, especially kind of how we was talking about with like social media and everything. We just see people like on phones, us being the couch surfers, we're always on our phones watching TV, listening to music on the radio, or not the radio because we're not in 2009 anymore. But you know
I
what I
still listen
mean.
to the radio, Jalen. I still listen to the radio.
Wait, hold on. Wait. You listen to the radio like more than just kind of in the car going from point A to point B? Do you like sit down, turn the radio on, and listen to Charlemagne's fireside chats in the morning?
Not necessarily live, but I definitely still a fan of like radio shows. I don't watch them live, but like I'll definitely tune into like a Sway in the Morning interview or like, you know, Donkey of the Day with Charlamagne. Like I definitely stay tuned in. I think radio still has its place, you know, amongst, you know, podcasting. You know,
you see, the problem is you just add in more and more to like the horde of enemies that stands before us, and I don't know how I feel about that. Because I'm going to have to throw hands with Charlamagne one day.
Hey, man. Listen, I got to stay out that one. I got to stay out of that one.
Wait, you're just going to leave me to get beat down by Angela Yee Ebro and Charlamagne?
I'm not leaving, but Jalen, I'm definitely letting you know that's going to be an uphill battle, my friend. That's going to be an uphill battle. I heard DJ Envy's a police officer, man. I don't know if you want that.
That's crazy.
I'm trained for us, man. I love the Breakfast Club. I love radio shows, and I love how, and like you mentioned, and like Jason mentioned in the interview, how, and like you reiterated, the slew of unheard voices that add to, you know, a production, and how, you know, filling that up with black faces is so important. So that's why I'm grateful for shows like The Breakfast Club and Sway in the Morning and these radio shows, as well as these, you know, black vendors that he was getting at Caesars and things like that. Because, you know, it's the little things, and not saying they're little people, but the little people who make the biggest difference in the larger scheme of things, especially in the entertainment industry. So I for sure have a huge deal of respect for everyone, you know, who contributes to this beautiful industry that we all enjoy.
Oh, no, of course. I definitely agree, especially when he, like you said, with the vendors. I think that was the thing that kind of took me aback, because I was like, oh, shoot. Yeah, I mean, what about those black vendors? What about the black people kind of at the table? What about getting like those black businesses and restaurants, you know, into the arena? Kind of like how in Atlanta we got like Old Lady Gang at the State Farm, and we got Killer Mike's Swag Barbershop in the State Farm arena as well. Like, there's just so many levels to it. Like, especially when you bring kind of like the live dimension.
No, of course.
There's just so much to it that you just wouldn't realize, and you kind of take for granted.
No, yeah, for sure. And it's easy for those voices and those people to get kind of lost in the herd, especially when we're talking about big names and big celebrities who dominate this industry. Sometimes the little man does get lost. So it's always good to see that, you know, someone up in a position that Jason Spencer was is still looking out for the little guy and still looking out for the people who make it all happen. That's really dope.
No, totally. I mean, shoot, you learn not only in the classroom, you know, as cinema, television, and emerging media studies majors
at Morehouse College,
like in our different classes and stuff, but you just learn from your peers and just everyday stories. I think that's, well, not to say that Jason's my peer. That was very presumptuous. I'm sorry, Jason.
He is your Morehouse brother. He is forever your Morehouse.
You are Morehouse brother. my elder Morehouse brother, clearly.
Oh man. No, but definitely.
Yeah, I respect everything that man does, because I couldn't imagine the amount of stress and like he played it off, but the amount of stress and pressure he must have endured, like in making those giant leaps forward.
And I definitely don't think he underplayed it. Like he definitely said, you know, he definitely talked about how he was reading it over for like, I think he said days, and now he just reads it over in 20 minutes. You know, and getting that huge amount of responsibility. Anybody, regardless of, you know, experience, that is a nerve-wracking. Like having millions of dollars in your hands and you're in charge to delegate it to these different you know, groups to make their show happen. That's no small feat. So like again, like I'm with you. Like I'm just in awe of all that. You know?
In conclusion, God bless that man's soul. I hope I hope at the end of his career he could just sit at a beach and just watch the sunset every day as long as he wants, because he deserves it.
I hope he can just sit back, put some earbuds in, put some good DMX on, and just ride out until the sunset.
Exactly. But I'm gonna take that as an excuse to make a corny line and say we're gonna ride off into the sunset for this week. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Couch Everest podcast for our pilot episode. Do we have pilots in podcast? To our first episode. Thanks so much. We hope to see y'all again next week, or well, we won't be seeing you. You'll be listening. All right. See you later.
Peace.